Veronika, thank you for joining today. And can you introduce yourself just shortly, and then we will jump into the story that you would like to share.
I'm a mom of 4 children and also a foreign mom. We are foreigners living in Cyprus. I'm a working mom, work at home mom. And that's about it. So the birth of my 4th child, and my children are all ages and stages. They are 3, 5, 10 and 12 years old right now. And my latest child was born at home, actually in this room. And he was born in this room, and I gave birth to him in a most natural way that probably I could imagine. And he was born without any medical help. It was just me and my husband. How I came to that decision, as I said, it was a journey. And even a couple of months before giving birth in this particular way, I was not ready. I was actually not ready for it. And at that time, I only knew that my past experiences of giving birth in different clinics, they accumulated, and because there were many positive aspects, but the negatives, they were already so strongly imprinted in my mind, that just being in that setting would trigger my body's negative reactions. And I knew that. I knew I cannot change myself. So all I could do is change the setting. That's that. So the next step was to try and find an alternative. And unfortunately, I found myself in a country, in a situation where there were pretty much no alternatives. Okay, at the point that I'm starting, I did try to create a setting where I had medical professionals surrounding me, meaning that I had a midwife and a pediatrician and a doula and my husband. I got them all together at one point. It was difficult even to get them together before birth, and we discussed the birthing process, and they seemed to be happy to be part of it. But the funny thing is that when they left my house, our meeting room, I felt like something big is missing. And that big part was my feelings, was my body, was my intuition, was just me. I felt like I'm part of a project, some kind of project where everyone plays a role, and I'm supposed to play a role. On the top of everything, I was very worried about those people working together. There was a plan, but it wasn't really, it was like the pieces of the puzzle were not coming together. Nevertheless, I wasn't ready to destroy that plan. The plan got destroyed by itself. So it just piece by piece, this beautiful plan started to fall apart. And while the plan was falling apart, the most surprising was that I started to feel better. I started to feel calmer. As the birth was approaching, I felt more and more like I need to connect. I need to connect with my body. I was turning to faith. You know, when you don't have a lot of things that could help you out, a lot of people, you start to kind of look inside yourself. The funny thing is that in preparation to my own birth, at first, I was trying to replicate the medical setting. I was trying to get all the supplies that could be necessary. Yes, it was very, very funny, because I was going through the lists that midwives would normally prepare, until I realized, you know, it was probably with the help of my husband, because I was presenting him with this list and was saying, you have to find all these things. But then he would say, but who's going to use them? You know? Who's going to need them? Who's going to apply those things? So finally my list was getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, to the point that it reduced to just 2-3 things, like a birth pool, some bath flower drops, and a few towels. That was my list in the end.
Veronika, I wanted to ask you, and you already touched on that point a little bit, but this is not the most popular decision that I would probably hear from parents, that okay, we will go all in, let's say, staying at home and relying on ourselves. But what helped you? What kind of internal self-talk helped you to come up to this decision?
Okay, what has helped me is few things. Okay, I'm not a very brave person. I was actually making this decision in partially out of fear. Out of fear of being again in the same settings and not being able to deal with it. Okay, but I could not go into it with fear, so I had to replace it. I had to work on myself. And what helped is a few things. First of all, no matter how funny it sounds, our profession, we are people that are, both me and my husband, that we are very pragmatical, very analytical minds. So what we did is we did a lot of reading, a lot of studying on the matter of this subject. When you really look at statistics and the chances, you would realize that actually the less you are surrounded by people, by, strangers, no matter how professional they are, by strangers, by environments that are unusual to you, that are foreign to you, the less likelihood of something going wrong. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in my home, if I'm calm, and if it's like behaving like nothing has happened, the birth is likely to go very smooth. So my goal, what has helped, my goal was to be absolutely free of these kind of interventions. Mm-hmm. And this is what my husband was about. He was trying to protect my environment. Mm-hmm. The second thing that has helped is I was almost forcefully trying to work on my thoughts. What I mean, I used positive affirmations. I knew, again, as a statistical, as a analytical mind, I knew that it works, it works. So I surrounded myself with affirmations. Literally, I was writing them down on little pieces of paper, and they were everywhere, on all walls, on all windows, wherever I go, And the whole house was full of these words. And I think that worked too. I stopped at some point I stopped any interaction with outside world. When my clock was ticking and I was approaching birth, I knew it. It was very much past the due date. I just stopped talking to people. And also knowledge of the process. I'm a kind of type of person that I need to learn the details in order to relieve myself from the fears of unknown. At the point when I realized that I am giving birth, I was no longer in denial. Then I realized that right now I have to completely tune in to myself. And the funny thing, what has really changed is that when I was in the clinic, I was hooked on other people. Let's say my husband, doula. In the last moments when I was panicking, I was like asking for help. Here, I wasn't asking for anybody's help, and I actually didn't need any help because I was asking my body to help. I was kind of questioning myself, and I knew that. When you are in a situation where it is a kind of life or death situation, I don't know how many of you have faced it, but I believe that birth, it's not a risky situation, but it is a life and death situation. It's when you have to accept both. So I knew that my life and the life of my child depends on my body wisdom. So this was the little thin straw that I was hanging on. My body only. And I relied so much on its functioning. I was so much in trust with it that every signal that it would send to me, I would appreciate it. I would not try to run with it. or escape.
Veronika, and you already touched on that, but I wanted probably to summarize a little bit the biggest lesson that you've learned out of this experience. So, what is it that you probably took from that experience and you now hold in with yourself through other cases, let's say in your parenting, but maybe not only in parenting, generally?
Of course. Look, having that experience doesn't mean that I'm now immune from fears, but in a way, I stepped beyond the line. I stepped over it. So when it is really a difficult decision, I think that this experience of giving birth, I think it's always going to be my biggest weapon against, I don't want to say against myself, it's going to be my biggest tool so that I'm not an enemy of myself, so that I can actually make my own mind, because I did, and because it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you may say maybe it worked just because there was a chance that it worked, but you see, I accepted all odds. That was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there were many people that were telling me on a daily basis, what are you going to do if the baby is dying? What are you going to do if, let's say, you have a particular issue? What if your placenta ruptures? What are you going to do? I was questioned many times, and I was answering them that I accept that risk. The risk is low, but I do accept it. I'm going to take the consequence with me. And the thing is that actually we are always facing this risk, and we are always carrying the consequence. And even if we rely on somebody else, the consequence is going to be with us.
Veronika, is there anything that you would want to emphasize for someone who is not probably making a decision right now between home birth and clinical birth, but something that you want to share with other women and parents that will help them in their thought process?
I've been there, but it's so painful to listen to so many women, because I'm doing baby wearing consultations, and I often meet women who are just about to give birth or just have given birth, and I always hear one story. It's either that my doctor decided that I need to do it this way, or a post-factum story is that it didn't go the way I expected, but now I have a baby, so it doesn't matter. I know that the issue will come back. They will have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just so important that they know from the beginning that they are making their decisions. No matter what, take your decision and make it. There is no one who is supposed to make decisions about your health.
So I hope this story will help someone to, think over about their past experience or maybe future experience and understand a little bit better someone who makes different choices in their birthing plan and realization of this plan. Thank you, Veronika.
Thank you for the opportunity.